life is difficult. Wow, that's quite an opening line, isn't it? From M.Scott.Peck's classic, The Road Less Traveled.
Definitely a mic drop moment, published way back in '78, but still feels potent.
It really does. And it kind of walked this interesting line, blending psychology and, well, spirituality. Offered a real guide for people on how to navigate life.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're working from some great source material you shared with us, a summary and analysis of the book's key ideas.
Right. So our mission here is to unpack those core concepts, the stuff that's made this book stick around for so long, helping people face challenges and, actually grow.
Think of it as getting the essentials, the wisdom that might actually help with the things you run into day to day.
Okay, so let's jump straight into that foundational truth. Peck just lays it out there. Life is difficult.
No sugarcoating.
None.
Yeah.
And he argues that really getting that, accepting it, it's not pessimism. It's actually the first essential step towards maturity.
And the fascinating part, I think, is what comes next. He says once you truly accept it, like fundamentally accept difficulty as part of the deal,
Yeah.
you can sort of transcend it. He claims it no longer matters in the same painful way once you've accepted it.
That's a huge mental shift, though, isn't it?
Totally.
It's like the difference between always wishing things were easier, which just keeps you stuck, right? Versus saying, okay, this is hard. What now? That acceptance frees you up, lets you actually deal with problems instead of, dodging them.
It's like if you're climbing a mountain acknowledging, yep, this is steep.
Right. My legs are going to burn.
Exactly. Instead of standing at the bottom wishing it was flat ground, one approach gets you moving, the other just paralyzes you.
Yeah, keeps you wishing. And that flows right into his whole idea of discipline.
Ah, yes, discipline.
His definition is pretty straightforward. It's the ability to face pain now.
For greater pleasure later.
This is where that delaying gratification idea fits in. But Peck frames it, well, more actively.
It's not just waiting passively. It's like scheduling. Is that right?
Exactly. Scheduling.
Yeah.
Consciously deciding, okay, I'm tackling the hard thing first. Because dealing with that pain up front actually makes the reward, the pleasure, feel better later.
And he's really clear about what happens if you don't do that, if you avoid it.
Oh, yeah. He says, problems do not go away.
Right. They must be worked through, or else they remain forever a barrier to the growth and development of the spirit.
That heavy. That word forever.
Yeah.
It really underlines the cost of just putting things off.
It really does. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many barriers are we, keeping in our own way just by avoiding that initial discomfort?
But Peck flips it, which I find interesting. He doesn't frame discipline as like punishment.
No, he sees it as a form of self-care, actually.
Self-care through discipline. I like it. Doing the tough stuff first, handling your responsibilities, it builds you up, builds self-esteem, inner strength.
And the sources gave some good practical examples, like tackling that email you dread right away.
Or studying before you go out. Or maybe the trickiest one.
Apologizing.
Yeah, apologizing sincerely when you messed up, even when it feels awkward or makes you feel vulnerable.
Those little choices, they add up. Each one is like a vote for growth over immediate comfort.
And speaking of choices and effort, let's talk about Peck's definition of love. It's probably one of his most talked about ideas.
Definitely. And it's not passive at all.
Not just a feeling. He defines it as love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth.
The will. That word jumps out. It implies action, decision.
Effort. The source material really emphasizes this. Love takes work. It's not something you just kind of fall into.
Right. He makes a big distinction between falling in love, that initial rush, which he sees as often temporary, maybe ego-driven.
Like a fantasy almost.
Yeah, maybe. And standing in love, which is, an ongoing choice, a commitment to invest in growth, your own and the other person's.
And a really critical part of this, for Peck, is independence.
Independence.
Yeah.
How so?
He argues that, the most genuine love happens between two people who could actually live perfectly fine on their own. They're whole individuals.
But they choose to be together.
Exactly. It's not about needing someone to complete you or fix you. It's two independent people choosing to share their journey and actively help each other grow.
Which leads right into his warning about dependency.
Yeah. Wanting to be loved is normal, obviously. But if that need for love, that desperate craving for validation, takes over.
It actually blocks your ability to give love, right?
Right. It drains the energy you need for that outward focus. So, mature love for Peck. It's about growth. It's about choice. It's very different from just neediness or that initial infatuation phase.
And this theme of growth, this focus on spiritual well-being,
Huh?
it connects to how he sees our whole development.
He links mental and spiritual growth completely, says one is the other, basically. Mental growth is spiritual growth and vice versa.
He even goes so far as to suggest the whole purpose of life is to develop our spiritual competence, our spiritual power.
And just like discipline, just like real love.
Yeah.
This isn't something you just achieve and then you're done.
No, it's effortful, it's ongoing, a constant process.
And a key idea here from the sources is this concept of your map of reality.
The map.
Our understanding of things ourselves, the world, it needs constant updating. Based on new experiences, new information, we can't just stick with the old map forever.
And this requires what he calls dedication to reality.
Which sounds simple, but
It's hard because reality is often painful. Truth can hurt. Peck says truth or reality is avoided when it is painful.
so revising the map means having the discipline to face that pain.
Exactly. We can revise our maps only when we have the discipline to overcome the pain.
Wow, that really hits home. It means facing those uncomfortable truths about yourself, maybe your past, your current situation. It's not optional for growth. It's essential.
You have to be willing to look at what is, not just cling to what you wish was true or what feels comfortable.
And sometimes, apparently, when you're in that tough process, doing the work, facing reality, help shows up unexpectedly.
Yes, and Peck has a name for that. Grace.
Grace. He defines it as like unearned help. Serendipity that actually helps you grow.
Yeah, things that show up valuable or agreeable things not sought for, like an insight out of the blue or a weird coincidence that opens a door.
Or just a gift, maybe, that lands right when you needed it.
And what's really interesting is his suggestion that maybe these aren't just random chance events.
What? Like they point to something bigger?
Maybe, like some force or process beyond just our own efforts that's actually helping us evolve, helping us develop.
But in typical Peck fashion, there's a catch, right? A warning.
There is. He cautions that a lot of people just miss it. They don't notice grace when it appears.
Or they take it for granted. Or maybe it doesn't look like the kind of help they were expecting, so they just ignore it.
Right. It requires being open, being receptive.
The sources mentioned a really powerful example of this. Maybe a bit counterintuitive at first.
Seeing symptoms of mental illness, maybe?
Exactly. Not just seeing them as problems to be eliminated, but potentially as messages. Gifts, even. Things that are forcing you to confront something deeper.
And this is key, if you take responsibility for engaging with them, for seeking healing and growth through them.
That's a huge shift in perspective. So grace isn't just about, divine intervention in a traditional sense. It's about awareness. Being receptive to help, to insights, fortunate breaks that come along.
Often when you weren't even asking.
Right. And then being willing to actually use that help to fuel your journey on this, difficult road.
It's like help arriving precisely when you're doing the hard yards yourself.
So thinking about who Peck was writing for, the sources are clear he wasn't targeting like academics or theologians.
No, it was meant for a broad, popular audience, people wrestling with everyday stuff.
Work stress, relationship conflicts, parenting dilemmas, just those inner doubts we all have. Anyone interested in getting better at life, basically.
Yeah, and it offers real practical stuff, like helping couples see the difference between real love and just dependency.
Or helping parents become more attuned, more sensitive by understanding their own baggage first.
And his overall aim, even though he starts with that stark life is difficult line, it's actually quite hopeful, isn't it?
It is. It's about guiding people towards growth, mental and spiritual, towards a higher level of self-understanding.
Which leads, hopefully, to more serenity, more fulfillment, by living more consciously, more bravely.
And he does it with this gentle, compassionate voice, mostly. He gets that it's hard, that change is often painful.
Yeah, he's more of an encouraging guide than a scolding teacher.
And you can't argue with the impact. Decades in print, millions of copies sold, translated everywhere.
It's definitely cemented its place, a foundational text for modern self-help, personal growth. No question.
And even if some of the language feels a bit, of its time.
Maybe a little dated here and there.
Those core ideas about discipline, about love as real effort, about growth, through facing reality, they still clearly hit a nerve. They still resonate.
Deeply. People are still searching for that kind of meaning, that kind of guidance.
So, stepping back from this deep dive, the main takeaways seem pretty clear. First, you got to embrace that truth. Life is difficult. Don't fight it.
Then, build that muscle of discipline. Face the short-term discomfort for the long-term gain.
And understand love not just as a feeling you fall into, but as an active, effortful choice to nurture growth in yourself and others.
Keep pursuing your own development, mental and spiritual, by staying dedicated to reality, to honesty. Keep updating that inner map, even when the truth is hard to swallow.
And stay open. Be receptive to grace, those moments of unexpected help that show up along the path. Recognize them. Use them.
These aren't just, abstract concepts from some old book. They're practical tools. Tools for your road less traveled. Right here, right now.
Which leaves us with maybe a final thought for you to chew on.
Yeah, something to consider. How consistently are you really updating your own map of reality? Especially when new information, or maybe a painful truth, challenges what you thought you knew.
What might you be missing out on? What growth might you be avoiding by sidestepping that difficult but maybe essential process?